Good evening, everyone. How are you guys tonight? It's Thursday evening. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late. As is to be expected. I've never been on time anywhere in my life. So I'm taking advantage of the fact that it's December right now, and I'm working on Christmas projects as much as I can because they're super fun. I'm having fun with it. So tonight I'm going to do some DIY Christmas ornaments with you guys. And this goes hand in hand with the fact that if you guys are over on the Redesign with Prima Facebook page, they're doing the 12 days of Christmas for holiday ornaments. And I'm going to post mine up tomorrow. So we're going to make them tonight though. So my name is Brandy and I'm the owner and artisan behind Brushed by Brandy. I'm also one of your Dixie Paint brand ambassadors. And I paint with you guys live here every night or every Thursday evening on the Dixie Paint Facebook page. So if you guys don't already, please go follow my page at Brushed by Brandy. But I'll go ahead and get started with you guys. So the first ones that I want to make with you guys is we're going to use some molds. So I rated the dollar store. Okay, the dollar store is a great source when you want to have some DIY Christmas ornaments that have more personality than, you know, what you might find on the shelf, but on a budget too. So you can get packs of 2, like these came in a pack of 2 ornaments. These were $1, so 50 cents a piece. And by the time I'm done, this will easily be something that in the store would cost, you know, in the $5 to $10 range.
Are those earrings?
Yes. Too much? No? So these are regular balls, which they had a whole bunch of different colors and stuff. And they started out clear like this, but these were $1. And these are larger size ones. Do I have any smaller ones? No, I'll compare it to this here. But these are big. These are fairly big. So, and I like that because then I can use some of the bigger molds that I'm going to put on them. Now these came with this, you know, tinsel inside, and I just pulled it all out. I don't need that. That's a bonus. Maybe I'll find something to use it for later. I save everything. And then I just take the tops off because while I'm working with it, I'd rather they were off. So this is one I've already kind of started on, and we'll get to this one later, but we're going to go ahead and cast some molds, and we'll go ahead and put it on this ornament here. But the first thing I did to these, because this is plastic and I want to paint them, what you use for painting on plastic is Dixie Belle Slick Stick. So Slick Stick is a gripping primer that's made for painting on slick surfaces. So slick surfaces would be glass. If you're doing, you know, decorative window panes are really popular this time of year. So buying vintage window panes and you want to paint them, put Slick Stick on it. I'm painting plastic ornaments. I'm going to put Slick Stick on them. But any slick surfaces, glass, plastic, MDF, anything like that. And I'm sorry, not MDF, laminate. So like IKEA furniture that has that plastic coating on it.
Oh, like melamine or anything like that.
Yeah, if you're painting anything that's super slick, this will give your paint something to bite onto. And it goes on really nicely. It's a really easy process. So I'm going to stick my finger in the hole, and then I can paint all around my ornament. And then I'm just going to set it in like a solo cup to dry.
Set it and forget it.
Yeah. This dries fairly quickly, so this is a pretty fast step to do. And I already did this on some of my other ones, so I'll be able to work with you guys on those. Super easy coat of Slick Stick. So now I know when I paint this, I know that my paint is going to have something to adhere to that'll actually last. And then they should store pretty nicely when I put them in my Christmas box for next year and things like that. So I can already see it just goes from a glossy wet finish to it's starting to kind of dry. I can see it starting to turn pretty matte, and that's how I know that it's dry. So that's going to dry really quickly, but I'm just going to set it over here on this paper cup. Whoops.
Say it isn't so.
I have to clean that up because that is a wood stained top I just dropped it on, so hang on. Thankfully it's a finished top that's coated in gator hide, so I know that I can just wipe it right off. Okay. That was an easy step, but if I would have left it, I would have hated myself for it. And now I'm going to touch up my ball. Since it fell, I've got a few marks in it.
I'm craving pistachios.
There Pistachios? What do you see my paint back here?
Right behind you.
Oh. That's my, you know, if you go to Costco, you guys, like, they have these flat boxes that they will pack your stuff in. But I take them. Even if I don't need them to pack my stuff, they'll see me walking out of Costco with like 10 of these. Nobody ever questions it. In fact, they actually thank me for taking all their boxes. And I use them like, I use this for a resin pour. But I'm going to do a paint pour too. And they're great for just putting underneath your paint pour, and then I can throw it away when I'm done. So what I'm going to use tonight, now that we're done with our slick stick, let me put the lid on that and set that aside. I'm going to use the Redesign with Prima modeling material. So everything I'm using tonight, you guys, is available through Dixie Belle, except for my ornaments. Those are from the dollar store. So this is the Redesign with Prima modeling material. Dixie Belle does carry this, and it's like a clay, or it feels like Play-Doh. It feels like Play-Doh more than clay. It's totally malleable. It comes in the container. I think you get 9 of these little cylinders. Yeah, 9 of them. And this goes quite a long way. This is a 2-pound bucket, but they also have, they just came out with smaller buckets too. So I'm going to take a mold, and I'm going to choose this mold right here. Some good ones for making your ornaments though are the florals are great for this. I love the winter blooms mold. This is probably my favorite. It's got kind of a magnolia design on it. And that's what I used on this one here. This is probably my favorite of the floral molds. This one here is In the Garden, I think this one's called. And this one's got a few different florals. It's got a daisy, a rose, another type of rose, some blooms and leaves. But those are a couple of the florals that I really, really like. But I'm going to use this filigree pattern. So when I'm casting a mold with the modeling material, I try to take as big of a lump as I can. I don't like to piecemeal in small pieces after the fact. I try to get as much as I can with one piece, because if I'm adding in smaller pieces, those are going to be all those seams are going to be vulnerabilities that are subject to cracking. And then I'm going to put this in my mold. And I'm not going to do this whole thing. I'm just going to cast the center portion, because that's really the section I want. So once I have it pretty well covered inside the mold, I take a brayer, which is just a small rolling pin type tool, and I'm just going to roll it out.
So if these crack really bad when they dry,
yes, I want.
Is there
them
a
to
fix?
Crack. I want them to crack.
What if you do not?
You can fill them with Dixie mud if you want. You can go back and fill the cracks if you want. A couple other tips to avoid cracking are, number one, like I told you, try to put it all in one chunk versus piecing little pieces in that give you seams that will be more likely to crack. Another tip is you can leave it in the mold to dry, and it will dry fairly flat. You will get some shrinkage no matter how you dry it, but leaving it in the mold helps it not to crack quite as much. I want these to crack. So my vision for these ornaments is kind of old, oh gosh, Victorian. I'm thinking like pastel colors, like the non-traditional Christmas colors. So the one I'm going to use tonight, which I thought you were talking about when you said pistachio, I'm going to use mint julep. But I'm thinking this color, let me get another one I'll show you. Tea Rose would be another one that would go great with this. Do you see where I'm going with gold accents? Those very vintagey Victorian type ornaments is kind of what where my mind is with these. So I want them to crack because I'm going to put Dixie dirt on them. I want them to look like they're, you know, old. Yeah, really aged and imperfect, and that's the beauty of the modeling material. So I only cast the center portion of this mold. I didn't cast the small little parts that come off the end. So I'm going to cut off where that breaking point was. I'm just going to make a clean cut so it looks like it wasn't missing something.
I'll come in here.
So that's all I'm doing. I'm just kind of cleaning up this little end where it would have carried out into this little swirl, but I don't really want those on my ornament. So I just cut off, and then I've got a little.
How easy that is.
Yeah, it's super pliable. I mean, it's so easy to work with. This is a fun project. This would be fun to have like guests over at your home and have everybody make their own ornaments.
So what's the name of that? The mold?
The mold that I'm using, you know what? I'll have to look because I don't recall the name of this one. You can go to redesignwithprima.com and it's got all the molds on it, but I didn't look up the name of this one beforehand. So it's just this medallion pattern, and then I'm going to add it to my ornament. So this is one that I've already put slick stick on. Same thing, it's just one of my round ball ornaments. And then I'm going to take this is Type 1 Quick and Thick glue. I like Quick and Thick because it sets up really fast. So like the one that I've already glued, I'm going to be able to come behind. I only glued it maybe 30 minutes ago, and I'm going to be able to come behind and it'll already be set up enough that I can paint it without moving my mold all around.
Man, where was that a year ago so we didn't have to use nails when we framed the house?
Oh yeah, that would have been great. So then, because this stuff is so pliable, I can mold it right to the front of my round ornament, and I can move it to whatever location I want. You know, I kind of like it right. I mean, that's really pretty. So if you're following my vision, like I think this is the perfect mold because it's got the little rose detail in here. And then I could even add, you know, some of these little swirls right here would be really pretty carrying around it.
So as a PSA or a question, Sheila wants to know what that glue is called again.
I can't tell you, Sheila. Anybody but you. Does anybody else besides Sheila want to know what the glue is called?
I do.
Besides Sheila and Sean, who are ganging up on me apparently. That's my favorite glue. Type 1 Quick and Thick. Quick and Thick. Okay, so let's talk about something. Usually when I'm casting molds, I like to use resin. So I cast some with resin just to play around. The problem that I had is it's significantly less pliable. So I had to tape the heck out of this to get it to mold to the curvature of this, which is, I mean, this is really curved. Usually I don't have a problem if it's just a slight curve on a drawer front or something, but that's a really harsh curve. So I had to tape the heck out of this, and I'm still not 100% certain that it's going to hold to that shape. It should dry and harden in that shape. But I tried it in resin, but I think that the modeling material is better for this use.
Why do I think that ornament's going to end up blue? For blue tape all over.
I'm just going to paint on the tape.
We're just going to leave the tape.
So this one, my glue's pretty well set up. Now my molds are going to take overnight to dry. So I'm going to go ahead and paint them even though they're wet right now. And I'm just using little artist brushes tonight because I'm working on such small surfaces. And I'm going to use Dixie Belle Mint Julep. So I'm going to take another solo cup, and this time I'm not going to drop my ornament on the ground, and I'm just going to put my ornament in here, and that will kind of hold it for me while I'm painting. So I'm kind of feeling all these, I don't know, there's a lot of fun Christmas colors right now. I have a dress form Christmas tree in my house, which I wanted for forever. So a dress form Christmas tree is where the body of it looks like a dress form, like an old, you know, sewing dress form. And then her skirt is the Christmas
Well, basically
tree.
the bust, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the bust. Yeah. And I wanted one forever. And so a couple of years ago, I picked one up on after Christmas clearance. But I decorated her this year. She gets different decorations every year because that's my fun tree. But I did like a teal and a bright purple, and so I'm going to do some ornaments for that too with those colors. But there's some really non-traditional Christmas colors. I think this mint julep is kind of one of them. I don't know, are you guys using any fun non-traditional Christmas colors or holiday decorations even? But that's a really pretty. And I can already see I've got some imperfections in my mold, but it goes right along with my vision for this, which is that old Victorian feel. So I've got like a little crease right there. You know, I'll get some cracks in this. These would be cute too if you're having like a dinner party. You could put one on each person's place setting. Like a really personalized little ornament that they could take home. I like that idea. I don't do dinner parties, so somebody else do one for me, please. Entertaining is right up there with my worst fear in the world. You could totally have some of your girlfriends over and just sit and paint ornaments together.
That's what I was going to do.
Yeah. All your girlfriends.
Yeah. Just makes it awkward.
Yeah. This chick needs to
For
go.
me, yeah.
No, I wish I was better at that stuff, but entertaining is probably my worst fear in the world. Number one, because my house has been a construction zone for the last year. When I say has been, I mean still is. So I hate having to explain to people why it looks the way that it does. This would probably take me 2 coats of paint. My mold's got pretty good coverage, but it's a little thin on some of the other parts of my bulb, although I do get really nice, it goes on really smoothly over that slick stick. I love painting over slick stick. Sometimes it's nice to use like Boston slick stick even when you're not 100% certain if you need them, just because the paint goes on so much nicer over top of them. I need to hold this a little differently. I'm going to hold it from this little tiny nub.
Oh, man.
I know, I'm scared too.
We'll talk ourselves through it.
You can do this, Brandy. This paint is going to dry really, really fast too because it's so thin on here that if I needed to, I could do one side and then set it down and come back, 5 or 10 minutes later and come back and do the other side too. But I'm going to come back in a few minutes. We're going to do another project and I'm going to come back and we'll put a second coat on this. And then I'm going to add some gilding waxes and some Dixie dirt. And it will look old and beautiful. I think. Or it'll look terrible. But if it does look terrible, then I'm only out $1, right? Those are the best kinds of projects. Okay, so I'm going to set this here. It's going to.
So where did you purchase these?
From the dollar store.
Yes.
Yes.
My wallet loves you. For that.
Okay. So while that's hanging out and drying, I wanted to do these, and I chose these because I want to do paint pour ornaments. So this is going to be where you pour the paint inside the ornament, and then you'll see it through the clear ornament, but it'll look kind of abstract and a little bit messy. So we're going to do that next while we wait for that paint to dry, and then I'll come back to it. So the colors I chose for this are a little more bold. I chose metallics. If you're going to do a paint pouring is really fun. It's really fun. It's really messy, but it's satisfying. The metallics are a little bit thinner than the regular paints, so the metallics pour amazingly well. If you're going to do a paint pour, metallics are a great way to play around and learn how to do it. That cup is not going to stand on its own. Man, I'm probably a game tonight. Okay, so I know there's a lot of complicated ways to do paint pouring. And there's a lot of products out there that say that you need them for paint pour, Floetrol and silicone and, oh my gosh, it's overwhelming. But here's what I found. You don't need any of that because you can pour Dixie Belle just by thinning it down a little bit. And it has enough play time that you don't need Floetrol. You add to your paint. It's a hardware store item. But you add to your paint to add to the longevity of it so it doesn't dry as quickly. You may also need it to change the consistency of your paint. I don't think you need any of that to pour Dixie Belle.
Oh, so I just had to share this. Cheryl said, "Oh my goodness, Brandy, I entertained in a house where my curtains matched the drywall for 9 years." I just think that's hilarious because we're talking as far as the building and what your house looks like.
Curtains match the drywall? Like, I don't understand though. Were they just both white? Is that?
I'm guessing.
Speaking of Christmas ornaments, last week on my live, we painted a bell with Dixie Belle patina paint. So this is the iron patina paint. And if you remember, this was a brand new shiny white enamel bell from the dollar store also. See, I'm telling you, I rated the dollar store. We put the iron patina paint on this and it rusted the bell out. And then this was a little sprig that already was on the bell, but I had cut it off to work with it. So I just put this on and I added a little bow. And now I've got this super cute, rusted out, vintage looking bell. So that's patina paint on an ornament too. I'm having fun with Christmas, can you guys tell? So, we're going to pour some paint inside this ornament. I just have these little tiny like medicine cups here. And I have this because if I'm using some of the regular paints, I do want to thin them out. But it's easy to pour in the ornament from these because I can push it into like a spout form. So I'm going to put a little bit of my Dixie Belt in here. It doesn't take much at all. It doesn't take much at all. So I really need very little paint. This is Moonshine Metallics and this is Pacific, right? Caribbean, sorry. This is Caribbean, which is a little brighter than Pacific. It's the color of the Caribbean versus the Pacific Ocean. This is Moonshine Metallics and Gold Digger. Is that Ginger outside?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're
Okay.
into plastic water.
Okay.
Were you thinking of Logan?
No, I thought it might be the wind blowing stuff around. And then this is the Moonshine Metallics in, although I don't know if I want to use this. You know what? I'm not. I'm going to use Plum Crazy, which is this bright pink. I think this will be really eye-catching, so I want to combine it with the gold and the teal. But because this is the regular paint, I'm going to dilute this a little bit. The regular paints are just a little thick. Can you give me a water bottle? My nose is burning. So I don't need a lot of water. I don't want to totally change the consistency of this, but I'm going to dilute it a little bit just so it pours. I want it actually pretty close to the consistency of the metallics. I just want it to be a little thinner so it will pour right down the sides of that ornament without setting up too quickly. So this could be any surface. This could be, you can have a lot of fun with this. So then I'm just going to take and I'm going to try to control it. You know, I want the different colors to show. So I can pour a little bit of this down one side. I'm going to kind of let it run. I'm going to kind of pour some of this over here. And then maybe some on this side. So you can kind of already see, and then I'll get full coverage by the time I add all my different colors. So now I'm going to go into my Caribbean, and I'm going to pour some of this right next to it. See, and I can kind of move my ornament so it moves around inside the ball, and it will run into that Plum Crazy. Here's a little spot where they're running together. I mean, very little paint. So I've got like a medicine cup of paint of all these colors. And then I'll add a little bit, see how they're kind of swirling together inside my ornament? Now I'm going to add a little bit of my gold, and that will fill the rest of my spots. And then I can kind of move my ornament around to guide where the paint goes inside. So then just by shifting my ornament, the gravity will start pulling the paint inside. Let's see if I can get it to run somewhere. I want that gold to come down. In fact, I'm going to add a little more gold right here. If your paint's not really moving inside, another thing you can do is if you just added some water. And then you just shift it all around until you've got coverage wherever you want. But you can see how my colors are kind of swirling together inside the ornament. There we go. There's some cool. Start swirling inside there. I don't want to dump it out on myself, but I'm going to tip it every which way. Can you see that? How those colors swirled together right there?
You're killing me.
Sorry.
Up, down, up, down.
I know, it's so complicated, huh? There we go. All right, and I've just about covered all the, oh, I see a little spot right there I didn't get.
Don't worry.
This would be fun with kids. My kids would love to do this. It's not that messy either because all the paint stays inside the ornament.
Where did you find that ornament?
These are from the dollar store. Oops, I just got some of my... But see how pretty that is? That is beautiful. You know, these were 2 for $1, and then I can just pop on. Where's that little lid that they come with? You know, I'll let this dry, and then I can just pop this little lid back on, and these are ready to hang. No sealing or anything required. So those are fun, funky colors. You could use whatever colors you have on your tree. See a little spot that I missed again. So I love the metallics for that. The metallics poured really well, but we used the Plum Crazy poured super easily just by adding a little bit of water. And it's all right inside there.
It also has good sheen because it's on the inside too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you'll be able to see the this little bit of sparkle from the metallics inside there. So that's pretty, and I'm super excited about it.
Merry Christmas.
So
You just made your own
Merry
gift.
Christmas to me. So now I'm going to come back to this one that I painted in the mint julep, and I think I'm going to do another coat on it. Where's my brush? In here. I probably could get away with it. The part on my mold is pretty dry, but around the bottom it does need a little bit more coverage. Oh, that's what I was looking for. So these are just all different ideas. We use the patina paint for ornaments. I'm using the regular paint. I use the metallics with a paint pour. How you can use molds. I'm going to put some gilding waxes on this. There we go. And because I've got that one tree in our house that I like to decorate a little bit differently each year, I can really, you know, make my own ornaments. I could even repaint these every year if I wanted to. Oh, my heat gun's right here. So I'm going to throw a heat gun on this for just a second and dry this paint.
So the process to get there, what did you put on an ornament before you applied paint?
Dixie Belle Slick Stick, which is a gripping primer made for painting on slick surfaces like plastic. Because I'm painting on plastic tonight, that slick stick is going to hold it. It's going to give the paint something to bite onto on the plastic. So I just gave them a base of Dixie Belle Slick Stick, and then I painted right over the top. Oh, and we put our molds on. So I have a little spot I need to touch up right here from my finger. And then I saw a little hole that I missed. Okay. A couple things too. When you guys if you're drying paint with a heat gun, I actually prefer sometimes to use my hair dryer because a hair dryer circulates air without necessarily using heat. Too much heat can bubble your paint. Don't ask me how I know that.
How do you know that?
Just be careful when you're hitting paint with a heat gun to dry it, that you're not letting it sit for in one spot for too long, because that's when you want to keep your heat gun moving around. So then I'm just going to take some of my, this is Redesign with Prima Decor Wax in Eternal. This is their gold. And I'm just going to hit the high points on this mold with my finger. I just put a little bit of gold on my finger. And then you can really see those raised edges start coming out. And it takes this plain, you know, it's pretty plain right now. You can't really see the details in that mold that I put on. And I just kind of paint it with my finger. And I'm using the wax to find all of the high points in my mold and start bringing out some of those details. It takes very little gilding wax, and I'm just working with my finger really, really softly. You can use a small artist brush for this if you want. And then we'll put a little bit of Dixie dirt on this. See, wouldn't this be a fun paint party? I would love to do this with friends. Okay, and then all of a sudden, all the details in that mold that you didn't really notice were there just kind of came alive. I can really start seeing the texture. So I'm going to come over here and do this last flower. And even though, so my paint is dry, my glue is fairly set up, these molds are still soft. So I don't want to use a lot of pressure in anything I do because they're still pliable. But even though it's a little bit wet, I can still come back and I can play with this. I can add paint to it. If it cracks, I'm okay with that because that's going to give me the vintage look that I want anyways on these. But I can still do this even with the modeling material being a little bit soft. So now, if I can find my little hanger for this ornament, hang on, I can get to this bag. I'll be able to hold it from this hanger, and I'm going to put a little bit of Dixie dirt on there. I touched a spot where I had Plum Crazy on my finger, and I got Plum Crazy on my ornament, which I don't want. You guys see the front of that? So this is mint julep with the gold over top, and now I'm going to add a little bit of Dixie dirt to age it some more.
And then do you seal them?
You can if you want. Honestly, I kind of like the matte look of the chalk paint. You know, with the vintage look that I'm kind of going for. I don't know if I want to seal this because sealing it will give it some sheen, and I don't really want sheen on it. So that's totally up to you. You could just put a spray sealant on it. You can use Easy Peasy Spray Wax, which is just a spray on wax. Let's see, I just want a little artist brush. I spilled some Plum Crazy right there, so I'm watching where I set this down. Okay, so Dixie dirt is a powder. It's a really fine powder. And I just take a little bit of it. This is a little bit on an artist brush, and then I always dab it off because your brush is going to pick up way more than you need. You can put Dixie dirt onto the raw paint. You can also put wax on it. And then I just kind of dust it into the areas that I want to add some shading to.
So going back a few steps. So
Yes.
So what's your molds?
These are the Redesign with Prima silicone molds. Dixie Belle does carry these. If you go to the Dixie Belle website, which I've linked in the post above, they have a variety of these molds. And these are silicone molds. They're food safe. So another idea you can use for these at the holidays is you can put baking chocolates in here and make really pretty chocolate decorations.
Oh, I'm going to keep my eyes out.
Yeah.
And then what did you use to adhere them to the bowl?
And then I use, is that Sheila asking?
No, it's not.
I used Type 1 Quick and Thick.
It was Lynn. You're welcome, Lynn. We were going to get there.
No, Lynn's right up there with Sheila. They're a team. You should know this.
I did. I was just taking you there. That's okay.
Type 1 Quick and Thick is the glue that I like to use for projects like this because it sets up really quickly. It comes out and it's thick and then it sets up quickly. So I'm just dusting the edges along the, I chose a looser brush. That's what I went back there and got. And I'm just dusting along the edges of my mold. And it just adds a little bit of aging to some of these crevices. And you can add as much or as little as you want. I'm just putting this on the raw paint. I use this on raw paint and it will embed itself to a certain degree inside the paint. If you want it to have more adherence, you can put a wax underneath this or even over the top of it, and that will seal it in. These are going to get relatively little finger wear. It's a Christmas ornament. Although, I don't know, you guys, okay, let me share something with you. Me and Sean have never owned a cat before. We got our kids cats this year.
Oh, sweet.
This is our first Christmas with cats, which that's fun.
And it's the cat's first Christmas too.
Yeah.
It's a treat.
So I'm gonna blow this off. And then I can wipe off any areas that I feel like I have excess. Nope, I'm not gonna pull it all the way up. You guys can't see this piece that's behind me. Usually I let you see my pieces. But did you guys know there's a new release of transfers coming out next week? One of them might be underneath this sheet right now.
Maybe.
Maybe. I'm not going to confirm or deny. Okay. So can you guys see how the dirt just added that little bit of, it's like a halo kind of around my molds. So when I hang this up, and I could go inside the mold too. Let's do a little bit of that. If I want to age, you know, kind of around the center here, get it into these crevices. That's really pretty too.
Oh, Adrian, yeah, thanks for that. Good luck with the cats because they climb the tree.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
They don't just climb it.
They get up to eye level. They get all the way into the center.
They lay in the tree like it's their new bed. They're like, hey, cool. We always wanted a tree. Thanks for putting one in the house for us, guys.
I think this will... Oh, good tip.
I'm going to blow this off.
Next year, since the kids are getting older, the Christmas tree will be decorated halfway up.
No, honestly, they haven't done anything that bad. And what we did is I took all the ornaments and I pinched the ornament hanger around the branch so they can't fall off, really. There's a couple that are loose, but...
So what are the colors that you used on this?
So this is Dixie Belle Mint Julep. And then this is really a single paint color. And then I used Dixie Dirt is what I added the shading with. And then this is Redesign with Prima Decor Wax in Gold. It's just a gilding wax I added with my fingers. So that's kind of it. I think that's really pretty. And I could go all the way around this, make it as intricate as I wanted. That's really just one side. So I'm picturing that I'll do the same thing, but we made this other ornament too. Same idea, but I'm going to do this one in the soft pink and like an ivory color. Those are kind of the colors I'm thinking.
Where's that mold? Can you set that mold down? And then as far as the rough name and where to go to get it?
Go to redesignwithprima.com and you can find the name of the mold. I will try to look it up after I get off. But this is what it looks like on the ornament. That's this one. We use that. And then the one I do know the name of is the floral that's on here. It's called Winter Blooms. This is the floral that's on this one. It's called Winter Blooms.
Here,
and I love this mold.
Because sometimes the mold looks a little different than what you imagine. Okay.
This is probably my favorite of the florals. And Dixie Belle does carry a variety of them too, of the redesigned molds. So go to the Dixie Belle website that I've linked above. They have a section called Redesign with Prima, and that's where you will find the modeling material, the molds that they have in stock, and then of course you can get the paints and everything there too. So I'm going to check back in. So when you set the ornament down, your paint is going to continue to run inside of it. So it's ran a little bit more, but I've got some really pretty swirling in here. You can see how all my colors kind of mixed together. There's another spot that's really pretty. So those could be really cute and funky. And they look like a glass ornament. So that's really pretty. I'm going to continue to let this one dry. And that's kind of it. But you can go to town. You can go to town. There's so many different things you could do with holiday decorations. So I'm going to let you guys go. I hope that was kind of fun to watch, and I hope you guys are inspired and feeling creative to go make some holiday decorations. I'll be back here next Thursday, every Thursday here on the Dixie Belle Paint Facebook page. Go follow me at Brush by Brandy, and you guys have a great weekend.